just doing a bit of a follow-up video to my previous video when I were repairing this verdict dial test indicator. So if you've not seen that video, I'll just quickly do an overview here what's happened. I was doing some maintenance to all my DTIs. I've got two, they're all plunger ones. These two are the pointer ones with the stylus on. They're both verdict ones. So what it was then, I've had this one for 25 years and it's never worked properly. I picked it up off a flea market or something like that. So this one has always worked perfectly, and the different models, different shapes, different sizes. This one actually has a switch on the side that reverses the movement on the stylus. Well, because this was different, and because I'm no expert on these, I just assumed that this had, for some reason, gone faulty and wasn't working, and because it hadn't got a switch on like that, I just thought it was one that was one way. So what I did then, I went inside, I had a study at it for quite a while, and I managed to fiddle around with the mechanism and get it working perfectly one way, and it returns every time back to zero now, one way. So when I put that video up, one of my fellow YouTube followers and friends, Chris Stevens, he messaged me and he said, I'm pretty sure that one should reverse. I said to, well, we've been toing and froing with messages for quite a while now, and to cut a long story short, I'd got tunnel vision and thought because it hadn't got a switch on, it didn't reverse. Chris said to me, go back inside and try and manoeuvre that spindle there and see if it reverses. So I did do. I went back inside, got pliers on that, and lo and behold, it does reverse. So I'm assuming because somebody's put the pin back in the spindle, I'm assuming that somebody's either put it back together wrong or put it back together and not finished off what they were doing, or the actual knob may have been made in plastic on this version and it's got broke off. So it's one of them scenarios really, but to look at it, it looks as though there's nothing wrong with it on the outside till you look at that one. So thanks to Chris, that's Chris Stevens, toing and froing with messages, has solved a problem here, because this one does actually reverse. So I've been on the Verdict website, but they don't do spares for these. So what I did then, I was going to try and make a knob that would actually work it, but wouldn't look correct, if you know what I mean. So I went on to Fleabay, and lo and behold, just by chance, there's a chap selling one of these sprung steel knobs. They're very specific shape, and they're made of spring steel, and there's a groove pressed into that for that pin to sit in. And what this fits onto is another washer. I'm calling it a washer, but it's more specific than a washer. It's a specific shaped washer that fits underneath the sprung knob. So I couldn't find one of them, so I've had to make one of them washers, and after doing a bit of measuring and etc., I've made one out of brass. It's 3/8 diameter, it's 60 thou thick, and there's a counterbore 1/4 inch diameter, 35 thou deep, and there's a 15-degree chamfer on the front edge. And this sits in that counterbore and then you put your pin through once it's on the shaft, and it's very fiddly to do, so I'm going to give it a go on camera. But I did find it fiddly to do when I tried. Well, I've had a practice run at this, so I know that I can do it, but it's just fiddly. So as you will see in my previous video, what I did, I moved the arm of this mechanism further up a couple of notches on that spring, on that mechanism, and that put more tension on the needle then, and the stylus. So I may have to move that back once I get this knob on. So the best way I've come up with for doing this single-handed is, without damaging this arm, behind that arm you can see where this spindle comes through, and it's got a hairspring on it, and by moving that spindle one way or the other moves the hairspring in either direction, putting the tension one way or the other way. So with something like a punch with a flat end, you've got to get to that spindle and keep it pressed so that it raises it on this side, so then you can get the washer on, the knob on, and the little pin through the slot on the knob and through this shaft. So I've found that if I put it in my vise, hold it down, and then try and manipulate it that way, that's the best way to do it, I've found. No doubt there'll be other ways. Now that's the pin out, and it's a really tight fit. So because this pin's parallel, I've found that if you put a point on one end, it makes it easier to get to find the hole while you're pushing it into that spring clip or the spring knob. Right, so I've carefully filed a point onto that pin that goes down to probably like as fine as a needle point, and that will help you getting it in that sprung clip groove. That pin has got to be stopped from dropping down, so I'm going to put this punch up the side to hold that on. Then it's this specially shaped washer, and then the clip, and that clip has got to be held down to get that pin in. Once you've got everything lined up, you've got to pick this pin up now. Once you've got the pin started in both sides of the groove, it's just a matter of getting some pliers and pushing it in then. So that's up. And that's down. Nice one, Chris. Well, that's it then, Chris. I can sleep now because it's been on my mind since you mentioned it. So thanks for that then, Chris. Job's a good one, and if you found that useful and interesting, etc, etc, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd appreciate that, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.